Happy Wednesday.
Happy Hump Day. How's it going, Ed?
Hump Day, yeah. The commercial
Happy
with the
Hump
camel.
Day. Yeah, Happy Hump Day.
Yeah. Never really understood that. But what are we going to do?
It's like the hump of the week, like everything's down afterwards.
Is that what it's supposed to be?
That's exactly what I got.
I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Hey, I posted in the chat, like nobody's playing.
Come on, play
Speaking of
along, people.
listening.
Play along.
So I got stuck on a plane in Cleveland for like 6 hours trying to get down here to Atlanta on Sunday night. And I popped on the TV at the Delta thing, and they were playing the Saturday Night Live 50th anniversary.
50th anniversary.
And I thought maybe this would be a good thing to start the chat. We did it with the residential group. It went pretty well. So in the chat, post your favorite Saturday Night Live skit or your favorite musical guest. And I went with the old, the Alec Baldwin, the old famous sales movie, Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yep.
They redid that, and
didn't you get in trouble for that?
Yeah, I got a little bit of trouble for it. But it's Santa's workshop, and he goes in there. He's here from downtown to help Santa. But it's a classic. And then of course I'm a big Foo Fighters fan, so when they got on Saturday Night Live, that was pretty cool. So
that was cool.
What else we got there? More cowbell. There it is.
Yeah.
Man Down by the River.
Why does everybody? I like the King Tut. Remember the King Tut song?
Oh, that was
Funky Tut.
Maybe they're not as old as we are.
Yeah, maybe that's it. All right.
And some of the new stuff I've not seen.
More cowbell. That's a classic with what's his name again? Christopher Walken's.
Yeah. What's his name with his belly kind of hanging out of his shirt?
Farrell.
Yeah, Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell, yeah. More cowbells. That would be great.
All the Jeopardy stuff is just bonkers.
Packed team showed up in full effect, looking great team.
We saw him out there, right? I mean, just looking out there, I mean, that's pretty impressive. So what's going on today, if you look on your screens, Roy Gonzalez is the tag name there. Roy's the RSM out there with Michael Edwards.
That's a party going on over there.
And they're with Robert Bart. They're doing their
Look at that, they're waving.
Meeting.
All right, well, we're waving back. What's the deal with the disco ball, though?
Yeah, don't
they got a little disco ball?
I think they do have a disco ball in there. What's going on?
Yeah. Sorry.
But they're out in L.A. doing their thing, and I think Palermo's hanging out with them. A whole bunch of folks are out there.
What is Palermo doing out there?
He wanted to get away from this cold Atlanta weather, I think. I think
it's a boondoggle for Palermo. That's what I'm thinking. It's a boondoggle.
That's a term that hits me pretty hard.
Is it?
Yeah, my boss got to confuse me all the time of going on all these boondoggles. And I didn't understand it. So what else we got? Rosanna Dana.
Leschleiter says, googly eyes, Christopher Walken. I don't think I've ever seen that one. Weekend updates, Mario says, weekend update with Norm McDonald.
Look at Adam going south. I'm not a big Saturday Night Live fan either, but come on. Come on. It used to be a really, really good show, Adam.
It used to be a good show.
Don't be so harsh.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But I like the show. I didn't realize it was 50th anniversary, though.
Think about that.
We're getting old, man.
Yeah, I think
we're getting old. We're getting old, man.
What have you been doing?
Let me see. Traveling a little bit. Next week I told you, on a cruise ship.
Yep.
On my way to the Bahamas. Yep. I have to do. I'm there 4 days on the ship. 4 days to do a 30-minute speech, and I get paid for it.
You are living large.
I'm living the dream, man. Living the dream.
Living large. We got a whole bunch of folks going to the Bahamas too. First week of March for President's Club, and I mean it's going to be spectacular.
And where are you guys staying at? You're staying at the
Bahamas.
And I just went there about a month ago.
Yeah, don't tell them how expensive it was. I think Victor told. What did you say? Like you get a little bit of eggs and a little bit of bacon.
It's
like
expensive.
$75.
By the way, but it is probably the nicest hotel in terms of the Caribbean I've ever been to, because it's so high end. You don't get any of the riffraff. It's really quiet, very zen. A lot of pool area. The beaches are great. Different little cubby holes you can go for, like hot tubs and stuff like that. It's really nice. And my favorite part is no DJ by the pool. It's like pure zen. So if you're there to relax, you're going to relax.
You saw Floyd Money Mayweather there too.
Floyd Money Mayweather with his 6'9" bodyguard. You couldn't get near him, man, but it was interesting to see him there. I only hang out with the superstars, Ed. Yeah. That's how I roll. So, by the way, Adam Humphrey says crazy expensive. He ain't lying. It is crazy expensive. So, get ready to spend when you go down there.
Amen. Well, the good news is a lot of their meals are paid for, right? So,
cool.
They get dinner a couple of nights.
Yes.
And, I think they got a free breakfast buffet or something.
Yeah, you're going to need that. Yeah. By the way, Craig Pearson says, Sean Connery Jeopardy. I am so with you, man. I am so with you on that. But yeah, I got some good ones. Rosanna Dana and...
Weekend update with Norm McDonald.
Yeah, not a lot of response here, which leads me to believe that maybe a lot of people don't watch Saturday Night Live anymore.
Well, this is a smaller group, too.
Okay.
This is a smaller group. Right. This is our late night.
Right. Who do you got
Who do you see? I see Dave Henry. Dave Henry's out there.
I see Mr. Sardinsky leaning into that screen heavy.
My man Bernie Thomas out of Lansing hanging out with us today. Derek Dixon.
Joe Krosky. Did I get that right, Joe?
Is that right, Joe? You get that right?
Joe's like,
Nathan Mouton out of Houston.
Yeah.
What's happening, Nathan?
Mouton, is that like a Cajun name? Or is it just the way you pronounce it?
He's
Sounds
giving you
Cajun.
a thumbs up. He's giving you a thumbs up. Nathan's an old dog here. He's been here. There's B Sellers. B Sellers. I saw your little video on the mosquito stuff that's coming out.
Nice.
We'll talk about that later.
Who's
Albert's got
that?
a hat on
Who's
today.
that?
Look at Albert sporting the hat.
Is it? Where's
Your
he
guy
at?
Albert.
Albert,
Your
where's he at?
podcaster Albert. He got a hat on.
Nice. I say, who's the young guy there? Aiden Baker. Aiden with an I. Aiden. I like it, man.
Andrew McIntosh, he's going to the
Derek
Bahamas.
Kennedy,
DK.
also known as DK, in the house, wearing the tie, keeping it pro. Let's keep it moving.
Very nice.
And
very nice.
Tony Brandon just sipping there with that mustache of his.
There's BB Bergeron back in the library.
By the way,
again.
we should do like a raffle for Tony's mustache. Like, put him in a raffle, and if he loses,
He has to shave it?
Yeah, something like that.
What happens if he wins?
I don't know. Grow a beard? I don't know. Let him do what he
No,
wants.
he's not allowed to do here. He ain't allowed to do that
Robert
here,
Wood
Victor.
was happening.
Not allowed to do that here.
But yeah, so cool.
All right, let's
All right.
jump in.
And by the way, just one more time. Why does Brian Bergeron still have to have the Harry Potter look? I mean, why is he sticking to the Harry Potter look? I don't understand that guy.
Ernie Thomas got the Harry Potter look going on with the little sweater vest too.
Like that sweater.
Look at that. Yeah.
All right.
The Jim Tressel sweater vest. Amen. What else you got? I can't see as good as you
Doug Como says his mustache was used in the Super Bowl Pringles commercial.
That was a pretty. I thought the commercial stunk in the Super Bowl, by the way. And
they?
speaking of the Super Bowl,
Yep.
we ran a contest.
Oh yes, the
We-
Super Bowl contest.
we ran a
How could I
contest.
forget this? There's about money. You got to throw some money out, right?
What we did, we put up $500 for picking the winner of the Super Bowl, picking your team. And if you remember, we did it when there were still 8 teams in the game. So like the quarterfinals
Right.
or whatever, right? Even
Right.
before the conference finals. So there were 8 teams you could pick from. There were 400 entries between our commercial folks and our residential folks. 400 people chose to participate and
Yep.
play. 400, Victor.
400.
400. 9 people picked the Eagles to win out of 400.
Wow. That's a small
so
percentage.
It certainly shrunk the field.
That's about
right?
2% if my calculations are right. A little over 2%.
It shrunk the field big time.
Wow.
So only 9 of our 400 folks that played along were Eagles fans.
Nice.
5 of them were in the residential side.
Okay.
We settled up with them on Monday when we did the residential broadcast. It's time to settle up with our commercial folks.
Nice.
4 of our commercial sellers
Got it.
picked the Eagles. 4.
We got 4 winners.
4 winners.
5,000 each.
We have
5,000 each.
out of Pittsburgh Commercial, a Yenzer at heart, Jessica Howard.
5,000.
Jessica Harold, I'm sorry.
Does she get the 5,000?
No, they're splitting 500. Be quiet.
Oh, sorry.
Out of Frankfort, Kentucky, we had Keith Cobert. This is a
Keith
brand new commercial branch in Frankfort, Kentucky. They put
Got it.
Lexington and Louisville together, build a branch.
Okay.
Keith wins.
I like that.
Wins
We just
money.
build the branch.
And then Thomas St. Jean out of Daytona, Florida won. So that's 3 winners. We had a 4th winner, and I have no idea who it is. It was Rollins iPhone HWJQ726X9D. If that is you, claim your prize. Let me know. If you signed on with your iPhone and you don't know how to change your name, I can't figure out how they wouldn't know how to do
Right.
that. But they did. So here's what happens. If that person shows up, the 4 winners, the 3 winners I just announced, and that person will end up with $125. If that 4th person doesn't show, they weren't here, so they
Right.
couldn't play. So we'll split that between 3 of them. How's that?
Nice. I
How's
like
that?
it. I like
So
it.
no, I was kind of surprised that nobody hardly ever picked the Eagles. So,
I-
what else?
That's it?
Yeah, let's jump into some numbers.
Yep,
let's share
let's do
some
it.
numbers. Not the greatest jump start to 2025 in commercial sales. A little bit of work to do, and I'm going to share some numbers with you real quick. We ended up local commercial sales with about a 4% increase year over year. We've been clicking around double digits. I'm chalking it all up to a little blip, a little bump. We're going to get past it. So again, not a stellar performance coming out of the gates based on what y'all been doing for the last, since COVID. 4% increase. Team sales were only up 7% year over year, which again is certainly disappointed. But we're going to turn the page on January and move forward. Our pure national account sales were up 27%. So there's a little window of a glimmer of hope there. That was pretty good. When you roll it all together for the month of January, well, most companies would be tickled to death with the 6.5% year-over-year sales increase. That's what we delivered, and it's kind of short of what we're tasked with and what we're budgeted for. Number one, and number two, kind of what the run rate has been for the last, like I said, since COVID. So I'm just going to turn the page on January. I was up in Tennessee yesterday at their kickoff meeting, talking to them about their slow residential start up there. Their termite sales and their ancillary, and they were all kind of feeling bad about how January went. I said, turn the page. Let's go. Let's go. Plenty of ramp to pull this all back together. Full faith and confidence in these troops out there that that's going to happen. And we'll just bounce back in February. A little bumpy start so we can use some more sales. But again, I'm not worried about bringing in this $1 billion sales budget this company has for 2025.
Yep.
Yeah, billion with the B. The good news is, based on the work that y'all did last year and this phenomena of recurring revenue, the company had a phenomenal profit month in January. So while the sales were a little bit short of what we expected or what we typically have been delivering, we got all that. We got that, I guess, that rush or that avalanche of recurring revenue that's moved with us into 2025, and it created company-wide a 13.5% revenue increase for the company.
Nice.
And when you get that kind of revenue increase, you darn well better convert it to profit, and that's what these folks did. They converted that to profit. We had a phenomenal start to the year, profit to plan wise, and at the end of the day, I guess that's what it really comes down to, that we make some money as a company. And so Uncle Pat's really happy.
Yeah, great numbers.
He's tickled with the jump start to this year. Mid-month projections so far coming in, profit-wise. Look, they keep pretty good track of that, as you can imagine.
I bet they do. Yeah.
Looking like we're set up for a pretty good February. Again, pick the sales up a little bit, we'll be good.
Yeah.
The other piece of the good news is last week they had the earnings call where, Jerry Galoff, your CEO, and Ken Krause, our CFO, got on a quarterly conference call that they do with Wall Street and shared the full year-end results for 2024 with Orkin. And if you were paying attention to your stock, I don't know where it's at today. I don't pay day-to-day attention, but the stock went up over $50 and when they made that announcement. So great earnings. It appears that Wall Street's pretty happy with us, the way things are going, and it's just a great place to be right now. I was asked a question on one of the kickoffs, one of the earlier ones that I was in. I think I might have been up in Iowa, and somebody asked me, said, "Is this the golden age of Orkin?" Right? And I was up there with Gary Hubbard, and we kind of looked at each other and said, "Well, Orkin's 125 years old, so is it the golden age? I don't know." But what I did tell folks, I know one thing: in my 40 plus years of being here in sales, this is without a doubt the greatest time ever to be in sales at Orkin Pest Control. So many services to offer, so many things that are happening, so much training to support you. This is the time to be here. So in my mind, this is the golden age of sales with Orkin.
And it bears repeating, right? Since the pandemic and forward, the numbers have been climbing just dramatically. Yeah. One could argue.
So much so that these knuckleheads that do the budgets,
right?
They're not friends of the sales managers.
They never are. They never are.
Oh, let's load the wagon up again. You keep doing it. You did it for 5 years in a row now. Oh, we'll give you another 6, and we'll even give you a little extra. That's my
numbers are always anti-gravity.
That's my cross to bear.
So, they always go up. They never go down.
In addition, Victor, to all these perfect and really nice company-wide performances, a little slip on the commercial sales. We had 11 of our account managers in the month of January check that box with $75,000. Now, before we play this video, let's talk about it.
Yeah, I'm disappointed that Orkin would take and put it on this character that you're about to see. So I was disappointed by that. Yeah,
so Brian and Ben, they create these videos for us when we send them the numbers, and they took an awful lot of liberties.
They did take some liberty on this one.
With Victor and I, and they had a Valentine's Day theme. And
they made us, what did they make us? Cupids?
They made us Cupids. So let's go to the...
Roll the video.
Let's roll the video, Stormy. Disturbing.
It was disturbing.
Those characters were disturbing.
Toga and diapers for Victor. I don't know. Not feeling that. But great numbers, by the way.
I look like a skunk.
You look good, man. They made you look better than me.
Looks terrible. No. Just really good performances. I mean, just outstanding. 11 folks crossing that barrier of 75,000, leading the way with Jordan Boss money. Out there in D.C. getting after it again.
Civittoni, always there. The ever so present Civittoni.
When he gets to the Bahamas, he's going to get that big old plaque as the chairman of the Chairman's Club for 2024. He went back to back.
Wow.
He did it 2 years in a row, which is really outstanding. So again, a lot of very familiar names out there. David Nunez out there. You got Barry Wiles and Ronnie Clear. Again, these folks are persistent. Ryan Wilkie, popping up in LA. I don't know if he's sitting in the room with you all out there or not, but if you are, give Ryan a little special shout out. Adam McIntosh, I think he's on the broadcast, and then Brandon Severuk up in Seattle, and Garrett Werfel, our Yinzer, and then of course my favorite. I have favorites. I have favorite commercial salespeople in the company, and it's Brian Clark because he's from Youngstown, Ohio, and I knew him I knew him when he was a baby boy.
Of course. By the way, Brian Seller says shout out to I think it's Nady Yo 70K just yesterday.
Woo!
Nice.
Hey, and good tip by BB out there. He's more than just sitting in the library. He shows them how to change if you're on an iPad or an iPhone, he told you how to change that.
All right, Brian.
Albert's
You're
popping
back
up
in the
with
game.
the
You're
stock
back in the game.
$50.48. Thanks for sharing that.
Thank you.
I love Robert's thing, tortoise in the hair.
Yep.
All right, so we're a tortoise coming out of gate in January.
Yep.
But we're going to be a hare pretty soon, right? Hopefully, like in the
Slow
next
and
week
steady.
or so.
Slow and steady wins the race every time.
That's an old nursery rhyme, isn't it?
I think so.
Something like that, right?
I think so. But these are still great numbers.
Oh, phenomenal.
It's
individual
phenomenal
performances are crazy good, right? 75,000. Those folks are bringing home. I would bet that every person on that list is a 20% commission earner.
Nice.
So you take 75,000 times 20%.
I can run numbers.
With your salary.
Yep.
That's a pretty nice paycheck.
Nice paycheck.
That's a 6-digit paycheck, or six digits.
And we also have to keep in mind that 6% over last year, but it's a bigger number.
Yeah, exactly.
And you think about it, you're like, oh my God, these are great numbers. So
you always make me feel so good when our numbers aren't.
Yeah, because it's good.
Pleasing.
To me, they're great numbers. Like I said, I see other companies what they're doing. You guys are doing fantastic.
Amen.
I'm not saying that to be nice. You guys are doing great. And like I said, you guys are on a roll.
Amen.
Do you know what I mean? You guys are on a roll. So
Amen.
I have no doubt they'll kill it.
Speaking of on a roll. Last broadcast, we announced that if you made the 75K Club 12 consecutive months,
yes,
this year, I would send you $5,000.
Okay.
So we got 11 folks
that
are on the board.
The race begins.
Clicking it down to first. Who's going to make it to the end.
So all the way through the whole year.
75K, all the way through the whole year. Get you an extra 5 Gs at the end of next year.
That'd be great.
Wouldn't that be cool?
That's a good race
I think some of these cats are going to do it. I think some of them are going to do it. What else?
That's it.
Let's talk some content and let these folks get out of here and let those folks out in California get back to their meeting. Traveling around all these kickoff meetings, and I kind of came up with the thought process, and it's weird. You know the way I think. It's just completely off the wall. But as I travel around to these kickoff meetings, and we talked about this in the residential broadcast, I think you see all these role playing, you see all these things that we're doing and stuff that we're doing and learning, and I think that we don't practice listening enough. And it's crazy to say, because a lot of these folks have heard me say it, that I think we would be way better salespeople if they cut out all of our tongues and didn't allow us to speak. And the customers bought based on what we demonstrated, what they saw, what they visualized, and what your iPad stuff looked like, what your graph looks like, all that kind of things. But the fact that as I'm traveling around, I'm getting in conversations with people, and everybody wants to talk.
Yeah,
and we think we get this title as salespeople that we got to talk.
Yes.
And that we're supposed to be talking. And at the end of the day, I think the best salespeople they listen more than they talk, and we'll talk about that. But I think more so with commercial than it was for residential. Residential, you're going out and you're doing a lot more educating the customer, right? Okay. Educating the customer maybe on entomology, right? Like, why do I have these termites? I lived in the house for 30 years. Where commercially, we're trying to find opportunities to knock the other competitor out. I mean, you're in the gap replacement business if you haven't figured that out yet. The job is to get an audience with somebody who already has pest control.
Right.
Get your foot in the door, do an inspection, find some spots that allow you to sell more.
Right.
So not only do you have to replace the vendor,
right,
you're going to ask for more money. So I think that's
a hat trick, by the way.
Yeah, it is.
That's a hat trick.
It absolutely is. So you work your tail off to get the appointment. Then you got to impress them enough that they're going to spend more money with you, right?
Yeah.
And I think that we don't do enough listening, and particularly commercial. Like when we do these discovery meetings, right? Or discovery conference, even if you're walking around having your discovery,
right?
Are you listening enough, right? Or are you just talking? You can't sell. I don't think you can sell commercially till you understand what you're selling to.
Yes.
And I think that is driven by listening.
Yeah.
So you do phenomenal stuff on listening. I mean, it's all over the internet, and I just love all of it. So why don't you tee this up, and then we'll kick that around a bit together.
Sounds fair. All right, let's talk listening. Here's the problem with listening. We speak at about 150 to 300 words per minute, but yet your brain processes information at about 300 to 500 words per minute. So you can see the problem. People are talking at a slower pace and our brain's just racing ahead. And we've all been in that situation where you're like, oh, yeah, I know where this is going. Hurry up, hurry up. And it requires a certain level of patience and discipline to kind of say, let me not interrupt, because that's what we tend to do sometimes, interrupt or rush somebody along. Like one of the things I often hear people say when I know I'm talking and they're wanting me to hurry up, they'll go, yeah. Okay, yeah. And all these are just signals to hurry up. That also transmits to the client that you're not really listening, you're just waiting for your turn to talk. And so there's certain strategies you can use. The first one is to slow yourself down, is to parrot what they've just said. Mr. Customer, this is what I'm hearing, and you say, this is what I'm hearing. So again, just letting them know that I'm listening and this is what I'm hearing. Sometimes you don't want to parrot it word for word. You want to kind of run it through your own process filter and says, based on what you told me, here's my understanding of what you're currently needing or wanting. Is that it? Does that sound right? What do you say to that, Ed?
I think, again, I'll take it more to commercial discovery conversation, right? So you kind of uncover that, they don't have the same technicians showing up all the time, right? Or they're not showing up, they're not responsive enough. I think rather than just take that and put that in your mind and spit back what you're going to tell them later, you just kind of let that percolate. You let that sit back, you take that in, and you throw it right back at them. Okay, Victor, so I think what I hear you saying is that you're really dissatisfied with the changing of the technicians all the time, or you're really unhappy with the response time. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
And what you wanted them to do is to say yes or that's correct. Because when they say that, then you plant that back here, because when you go to ask for the business, you're going to serve that back up and pin that down, so they can't say, oh yeah, and I know, Victor, obviously one of the things you had was a problem with the constant churn of the technicians. The coolest thing about working here with our Orkin Pro is that Bill has been working your turf and your zip codes for the last 13 years. You don't have any plans to go anywhere. And so you can be reassured that he's going to be the same guy coming all the time. When you can spin that conversation.
That's a good conversation to spin.
That helps you, right? Because if you think about it, why do customers cancel? They're unsatisfied with the service results, right? They're unsatisfied with the communication. They're unsatisfied with the pro not showing up, the inconsistencies. And when you build that back in, but you got to pin it down. You got to get them to say that. Yes, that's it. Now you got something you can talk about later. What else?
Because if you hear that concern, that you know what, well, we always have somebody. They can say something as simple as this. Well, it's always somebody different. Now, as soon as I hear it, that's always somebody different, I'm thinking in my mind, okay, what's our advantage? We got the same person that comes through. Then how do you frame that conversation? So you have somebody different coming every time? He goes, well, how are they communicating with each other to make sure that the information is consistent? I don't know. And then all of a sudden, that's our value proposition, that we have the same person coming in, so all of a sudden you have the same point of contact, and there's consistency in the information or the knowledge that they're going to give you.
And I think particularly when you're doing a discovery with the commercial client, you can't be too quick to act. If they say that to you and you're just in the beginning of your conversations and they share that up front, don't jump all over it and say, Tim Lamont's been working here for 20 years. You don't want to just spit it right back.
I know, it's almost like we're like just...
I got that answer. Let me knock that one out and I'll fix this up, right? Oh, I can fix that for you. Kind of hang on to that until you really go ask for business. Because one or two things is not enough to make them spend more money.
That's a good way of putting it change. Because you're right, because there's two or three things you want to respond to, as you say real quickly. But you want to hold back, and then when you're ready to kind of, let's just say, come to the close, then you can start setting them up and knocking down like dominoes.
Yeah, and resist that urge, even though you're locked and loaded on the answer, right?
It's so hard, because we're taught speed to response is important. Get back to them right away. But as soon as you hold back and then measure when you're going to plant, so to speak, and bring that out, I think that's more powerful.
No, absolutely. Let's talk about the pause piece. The pause piece. This is classic, I think. I mean, this is something that is trained, and you got to practice. But talk about pausing.
Let me ask you a question, Ed. I'm catching you off guard here. It's like, how did you learn how to pause? Like, for me, I just learned that, you know what, I don't have to fill the silence. I just have to kind of say, you don't have to fill the silence, Victor. You don't have to fill the silence. Is there anything you tell yourself?
I don't think it's that old stuff, who talks first is loses.
Who talks first loses.
That old closing stuff. Not that stuff. I think it's just experience, being out there, knowing that if you pause, the reaction you get from the customers. If somebody says something, you take a minute to pause. I think it gives you all these advantages. But personally, it gives you advantages. But I think in the customer's eyes, it's like, this guy's really paying attention.
Yeah.
He's taking this in. He's really listening to me.
He's thinking.
He's not waiting to respond. Is the big hookup. You know, you're listening to respond. When you pause, that takes that away. And I think what it also does, is, as you know very well, it gives you a chance to kind of, okay, get it together, get your thoughts together before you start spitting an answer that you don't want to spit. So
it's all about absorb it.
Yeah.
Reflect on it, and then deliver it right back. But I like what you're saying is because we got to remove that speed to response heuristic, that rule that says we got to respond quickly. No, you don't. And I think pausing has that. I wanted to highlight something because I think this is important. When you talk to a customer and all of a sudden you let them finish talking and you just nod, don't say anything, just nod, you're giving them permission to move forward, but they're also going to give you more information. One study shows that people will give you 25% more information if you just nod and just don't say anything, because they feel uncomfortable, like they need to fill that void, and they wind up giving you more information. Your thoughts?
And some of that science on that old information pump, right? You don't necessarily need to say anything to get more. Maybe they say something that you think, boy, I can put my hooks into this, but at the same time, you want to know a little more. You can just nod, or you can even say something, nod at the same time, and say, tell me a little more. Tell me a little more. You know, to take a couple layers off it, so you can. You know, you can really dive into it, right? When you get one that's hot, when they say it's the same guy, it's not been the same guy all the time. That's a home run for us. You just don't want to stop there. Tell me more.
Tell me more.
How many pros, how many technicians have you had in the last year?
Right.
You know, and they start. You're not going to believe it. You know, it really creates some uncomfort for you guys, right? What do your people feel about that?
I play this game, and we've talked about this, where like I'm at dinner sometimes, and I just don't want to talk. And I just keep asking a lot of questions. It annoys my wife because she thinks I'm interrogating people. But what I'm trying to do is, I guess a part of me is practicing my, wanting to talk all the time. And I want to see if I can pull you into the discussion. And I do that at dinner a lot. And like I said, it annoys my wife. But what I'm trying to do is like, can I get this person involved? Because too often we're at dinner and people just don't feel like they have something to say or value to add. So they pull back. And if you come across as a know-it-all, I've noticed that if you come in this way, people tend to fall back. But if I start pulling you into the conversation, it's different. How would you analyze that in sales?
Well, I'll give you an example that I think is pretty recent, right? So as I travel around to these kickoff meetings, I work. It sounds horrible. I work the room, right? I mean, I try to shake hands, talk to everybody there, and the expectation is that I'm going to tell them stuff, and I'm always like, tell me your story, Victor. What are you all about? What makes you go? How long you been here? That kind of stuff. And again, making it so comfortable for them that it's not an interrogation. I'm not grilling them. And having some fun with it, but just being in that relaxed mode to where I want to know, right? I want to know.
And don't think you're the greatest conversationalist in the world.
Yeah, that's another piece too. Think about the greatest conversation. You walk away from a conversation, you say, man, I just had a great conversation with Victor. If you had the AI hanging over you, analyzing that conversation, if you leave it thinking you had a great conversation, I'll guarantee you did most of the talking. You did most of the talking. So if you want that customer to leave, the interaction you had with them saying, man, I like that Ed dude. He listened to me. I really liked him. If you reflected back on it, if you've got them talking more than you, that's selling. That's selling. That's not spitting features and benefits. That's finding these little. This is a tough job, finding these nooks and crannies to hang more business on when they're already got somebody, right? Very different again from residential.
By the way, I want to highlight. Adam says something here is like pausing gives them the opportunity to digest what you said, and I want to pause on that. No pun intended, because what he's saying is that sometimes we know our content so well that we say it, and the customer's probably hearing it for the first time, and you don't give them an opportunity to process that information. So going too fast is dangerous because you'll say something, you think they understand. We project that they'll understand it, but they seriously don't. So that pause adds a little bit of absorption factor for the client.
Yeah, and you shared a study that was done with the residential team about how the people that are in sales longer don't have this skill because they know all the answers. Where somebody new coming into the game, they don't even know the questions sometimes or the answers. So they're slowing down. They're doing more listening, to where veteran folks fall into that trap. Well, I heard that before. Let me close this business right now. That's all. I just need that one thing. And they jump to a conclusion. They short-stop the whole process of questioning and interviewing and discovery because they think they got that one they can hang their hat on because 3 times somebody else bought based on that.
And you hear it sometimes, Ed, right? Like sometimes somebody's talking, and again, what I said earlier, you're like, yep. I know what you're saying. Yep. Yep. You're not the first customer to tell me that. Yep. And what you're doing is saying, hurry up. And there's no connection there. You lose that. And you see that a lot.
And I think if you feel you're talking too much, you have sailed down the road. You are talking too much.
You are.
And I think we have to be very, and we do it all the time. You and I do it all the time with each other in these broadcasts. We talk over each other.
Yep.
And we laugh about it sometimes. The story comes in and gives us hell about it.
Yep.
But we do talk over each other because I get so anxious to say what I want to say, and he's in the same boat.
Yep.
You got to really kind of coach yourself not to do that. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. But there's, they did this one study. I think it was in the Challenger sale. They talked about this. No, it was the jolt effect. That what they found is that they call it overlapping interrupts.
Okay.
And what they found is that when you have overlapping interrupts in a conversation, both sides doing what we do, close rates went up. Because what they found in this overlapping interrupting piece is that that's because conversation is flowing now.
Yeah.
That's why it's not that you're trying to one-up each other. It's just that it's like when two people were at, I don't know, a sports bar talking about, oh, yeah, but did you hear about this? And you're like, yeah, I've heard about it. And it's that type of conversational. So it's okay to have the overlap as long as it's a back and forth overlap and not me just stepping all over your conversation all the time.
Yeah. And I think too oftentimes we fall into the trap of just spitting stuff, right? Just, I'm with my iPad out and here we go, baby.
Yep.
Come on the journey with me. And we ask maybe one or two questions and we don't stay engaged in conversational.
And I think to Adam's point is that's when you want to ask, does this make sense so far? Yep. Are you tracking with me? And that's where you kind of just pause and let them answer. Are there any questions? And I think that's important. These little things just move it along.
And looking for them to say, that's right. That's correct. I agree. That's correct. When you get that kind of buy-in, they can't come back and shake it out later.
Yeah. Can I just say that Adam Humphrey has finally stated something valuable that I'm willing to share?
He deserves that after a couple of them comments he hits us with.
He's got to hit that.
So just one more thing and the importance of note-taking. And just the whole dynamic of it, what it says to the customer, what it does for you as well.
Yeah, I've been doing a lot of virtuals, and so I found myself the other day just like doing this. And then I realized, kind of had that moment of awareness where I go, do they think I'm ignoring them? Yeah. And I have a remarkable pad. I lifted up, I said, look, I'm just taking notes, just to let you know. And I almost felt like I had to show them. Yeah. And then so now what I do is I say, do you mind if I take notes? And I show them my pad. They're like, go ahead. And what I've noticed is that they're more purposeful in what they say because they know I'm taking notes. And also it helps me remember things because I got the attention of a goldfish sometimes, so I have to write things down. I don't trust my brain anymore, Ed. Yeah. Your thoughts?
No, agreed. And I think the other thing on top of that, because I think that's vital, that interaction, that the customer understands it. This guy is really interested in what I'm going to say.
Yes.
Do you mind if I scratch some notes? And I always make jokes about it. I got a bad mind. I can't remember nothing. Can I scratch some notes? The indication to them is that what they're going to say is important. So I think it brings that level of intensity in what they tell you up.
Right.
So it won't be a conversation where they just throw something out there willy-nilly. If you're taking notes, they'll notice that, and they'll give you some real good stuff. Right?
And you should take notes. There's a book called Nicholas Carr wrote a book called The Shallows: What the Internet is Doing to Our Brain, and in there he talked about what happens is that we don't, in order to push something into encode into real memory, you have to reflect on it. So in other words, not just see it, you have to reflect on it. Well, in a conversation with a customer, we don't have time to do a lot of reflection. Yeah. So he says you're kind of skipping the rock. So if you're just skipping the rock, you need to take notes or else your attention will just go away. In other words, you'll forget. Yeah. So keep that in mind that you're having a conversation. If it's a deep conversation, I'll remember it. Yeah. But if it's a, let me collect some information conversation, I need to write that stuff down.
Yeah, and I think, the larger sales, something gets over a couple grand or, $500 a month, you're probably going to go back and pitch it. You may pitch it on the spot. It may be one of the ones you got to pitch on the spot, but you figure that way out. But if you got a whole table full of notes, a whole pad full of notes, and you come away from that and you go, okay, what did I take away? What am I going to sell to when I go back? And you go back through there. Oh yeah, I forgot that. Every time. I can spin this one.
Every time.
I know how to tee this one up. So he says, he said that's correct. Oh, wait till I hit him with this, or wait till I hit him with this, and then build. I always looked at when I ride with the salesperson, we're going out to deliver a proposal, and I wasn't there in the beginning. The first question I asked him, I said, "What are we selling to? What are we selling to?" Well, I'm going to go out and tell him my story. We're going to tell him the triple guarantee. Is it important to him? I don't know. What did they tell you to tell him? And it seems so simple.
Yes.
But it's such a tough art of listening.
Yeah.
Like you said, with you speaking fast, but all that together, we think we need to be the know-it-alls when we can't be the know-it-all commercially by just spitting what we got. I mean, we got all these services and all these guarantees and all these beautiful features and benefits, but most of them don't mean a lick to that customer. You got to speak to the ones that mean a lick to them.
Yeah.
Is that stupid or what?
No. It's where I just remember this analogy. It just sticks with me. Is that we all know how to use like Microsoft Word, right?
Yeah.
But we only use about 9 or 10% of the features in Microsoft Word. Yeah. To your point,
Amen.
You got a lot of stuff in there, but I don't need all that stuff. All I need is that 9 or 10%, and that's what we have to focus in when we talk to the customer.
Amen.
What you want.
Amen. Victor and I had a conversation between broadcasts about a Notebook LM, right? Something we introduced you to last week, and we're just kind of laughing at how little of it that we use. In ChatGPT, how little of it that we use. We just scratched the surface.
It's so much content.
You got guys like Albert that have taken a deep dive on it, but shouldn't we all be taking a deeper dive into figuring out those tools? But again, I think that's enough on listening. We're kind of pushing time a bit. It's tough. It's not easy. You got to practice it. Sometimes you got to almost mentally sit on your hands. Leaving the car, my trigger was popping my tie up, looking sharp, going in, looking in the mirror, saying you're the best salesman on the planet. Go get your business. Go earn your money. At the same time, you better listen. So maybe you click some sort of trigger in there that helps you listen better. How about some housekeeping and get them on out of here?
Let's do it.
So there's a broadcast coming up May 3rd. Most of you have been invited to it. If you don't have the invite, get with your RSM and get it, because I think this is going to be a phenomenal broadcast. We are going to, it's the one the commercial division puts together with Nadine. She's the trainer, and Mike and a bunch of the RSMs help, and we interview and we use testimonials from your peers, right? So the first half of this broadcast on March 3rd is going to be on mosquito and how to sell mosquito. And we bring in 3 stories. I mean, B. Sellers tells a story about one of his mosquito sales. Elian Alvarez tells another one about his mosquito sales. And then Jordan Bosmany shares a personal experience where last year his son got West Nile. So it's all the tactical stuff on how to sell mosquito, and then all the kind of the backup. So setting you up for the program, because really, folks, if you think about it, we didn't do really good selling commercial mosquito last year. That's a wide open space for us to get after it and throw more business on. The other piece of that broadcast is one you really need to be on, and I'm not favoring one half or the other of the broadcast. That's an hour investment of your time. Spend the 45 minutes, I think it is. Spend that time investing in yourself and tuning into this broadcast, because the second half of this is Mike Palermo going one-on-one with the coordinator of E&I Cooperative. It's a business buying cooperative, very similar to Sourcewell, very similar to a lot of these buying cooperatives, but this one is focused solely on education, from grade schools to universities to all the way up the food chain in education. This company, this cooperative, has been around for over 100 years. The guy that sits with Mike and does the broadcast with Mike is a pro's pro. Dude knows his stuff inside and out, talks about how he can help support you, and I will tease you to watch that broadcast with the announcement that the Frankfort, Kentucky branch, Keith Colbert, that won one of those $100 gift cards, they're starting the University of Kentucky in excess of $1.5 million May 1st through the E&I Cooperative. So if that's not enough to tease you into getting after it, you got a screw loose. Well, I shouldn't have said that. The other piece is as I get around to these kickoff meetings and all these sessions that your managers are investing all this time in trying to educate you, a couple of them are always bringing in vendors, right? So if you're not sponging off these vendors, you get these exclusion vendors, you get these flylight vendors, you get these mosquito vendors, you get these Centricon vendors, whatever vendor comes in, I'm always amazed that when the segment ends with the vendor speaking, that there's not like this mad rush to the stage to ask more questions. I want to challenge you to be incredibly curious. Curiosity to the nth degree when you get introduced to these new products, because if you don't know them, you're not going to sell them. So you want to sell more mosquito? Talk to these mosquito vendors. You want to sell more exclusion? Talk to Jack Searles. He's one of the greatest vendors I've ever seen present. All these folks that your region's teams bring in, spend the money to bring these folks in to present to you. There's a method to the madness. We've got all these services that we've got to sell. Become a subject matter expert in these individual product offerings that we've got. So that's one thing. Really cool thing about President's Club this year, I know there's a bunch of folks on the call that are going to President's Club this year. For the first time in probably a dozen years, all of the Orkin people will be together. We're going to have one celebration. We usually split it up, broke up the divisions because of size. They got a room big enough down at this Baja Mar for everybody to be in the same room, everybody get their plaques, everybody have that same scenario. And for those of you folks that are going, that dinner and that celebration is Friday night. So I look forward to seeing you all there and celebrating your success. And I think it's really cool that we got them all together. And
nice.
Just tell them how expensive the Baja Mar is. Did we tell them that already?
I think so.
Yeah, it's really expensive. So
nice.
just
But
be
nice.
ready when you go there.
But nice. But nice. You'll like it.
Bring your wallet. I'll try to get those gift cards out to you as quick as I can to help lessen the blow. And then last thing, obviously, the safety aspect of it. We've had knock on wood, we've had a pretty good trend with at-fault accidents and things like that happening. So we're on a good pace there. Let's keep it that way. Again, the most important appointment that you have is the last one when you go home. So be safe. Appreciate the living daylights out of everything you're doing, and keep after it, and good selling.